They've targeted new players. They're targeting the casual player base. Skyscale was a big marketing feature for this expansion. They certainly like learned from their mistake of giving away something like that for free. I think for a casual player, this becomes their game. For a player who's looking for a bit of a challenge, I find that this will be the game that you play on the side. They respect your time. And I will give that for Guild Wars 2. I'll give that for this expansion. The conclusion, I think the expansion delivered. It's exactly done what it sought out to do. I can't wait to see what comes out next. It's time. It's the Secrets of the Obscure review. It's been about now almost a month. We're about 3 weeks into this. Perfect time to review the expansion release of the first phase of the expansion, if you will. It's quite a lot to dig in here, all right? I've had quite a while to dig in my thoughts, to look into what I think is interesting about the expansion, all of that. You know what? I'm just going to say this right here. I'll say this. I'll put the conclusion as the intro, okay? And don't even edit this part out. Just keep this as it is. Don't even touch it. I think Secrets of the Obscure actually achieved exactly what Arenanet wanted it to achieve. And I don't think I'm wrong in saying that. I think this expansion delivered exactly what Arenanet was looking for. And that this game and this expansion was catered to a very specific audience, which is the majority of the player base of this game. And that is okay. And that is the new player base, and that is the casual player for whom Guild Wars 2 has always been the big deciding factor in their playtime. So I don't think that's controversial. I think that's actually accurate. This expansion delivered big. Now with that statement out of the way, let's get into it. All right. I started with the conclusion. I start with the punchline, and that's it. That's my word on it. So let's get into it. I think, honestly, this expansion did deliver in so many ways that if you look at it just based on who it was targeting, it actually makes sense. The story, if we could start even with the story, is already a step up from all the other expansions. I actually think it's probably in the top 3 storylines that they've done so far for the game. I won't say top 1. I think there were a lot of interesting story developments about the Elder Dragon saga. I think it's just people feel like it was tired out, obviously, by that point. But I do think this storyline was very good. I certainly think it did its job. We had some good character development. They brought old characters like Zoja. They even gave her a little bit of piece of, like, you know, why she went away and things like that. And for the first time ever, it has nothing to do with dragons. Although at some times it did feel like the story was kind of calling back on the previous things that we did as a commander. Almost like as if like they're kind of breaking the wall here by reminding us about like the previous storylines of the game. But I think this current one was very good. It's a new story. It's finally getting us into these self-contained arcs that are going to be happening in their own closed expansion, meaning the appeal for a new player to play the game is going to be great because they can just hop into the expansion without having to know any information prior. And it's a fresh take. We don't have to like keep dragging out a story anymore. So yeah, I think I enjoyed the story. It had its moments. I kind of like the demon sort of like wizardy stuff that they're going for in this expansion. And they did use a good callback with the tower from Guild Wars 1. So overall, I liked it very much for what it was supposed to do. And this is, reminder, just the first phase of the story. There's still more to come. There's going to be more in 2 months, and then after that in another quarter. The whole expansion is to be delivered across a year. So that means every quarter we'll be getting updates to it. So the story is still not done yet. We still have quite a lot. And they even kind of left a little bit of like a cliffhanger sort of closing moment of some things that we're going to expect next soon after. So there's a little bit of things lingering here and there. And yeah, so there's more story to come. And I like how they've gone with it so far. I think the direction of self-contained plot lines, honestly, is a huge fresh of breath air for this game. And I do like continuations and progression and all that, like long build-up of a storyline. But I think for Guild Wars 2, it's kind of outstayed its welcome. And so for us, something like this feels a lot more fresh than having like another, you know, page in like in the same book, more or less. So yeah, I think I like the story. It definitely has a lot of moving parts to it. They introduced new characters. I think everybody from the new characters did get a chance to shine. And even some of them who didn't get so much will probably get a bit more in the next few updates. So they've allowed room for the characters to breathe, right? There's motivations and things. There was a character that I don't remember what's his name, the Mersot, that I felt like they killed off a little too fast. I do think they should have like kept that one a little bit more alive. Maybe, yeah. I think, yeah, his name is Mabon. I think he should have lived for a bit more. I do think like there was a character that kind of got the axe a little too soon. I think they could have moved a bit more with that. It did seem that he was more of a progression to get Zoja's sort of character development going, which is fine. I just didn't like that that was used as a very fast plot device. He was pretty much a plot device for Zoja. And I felt like he could have had more information there, right? More kind of going on. So yeah, storyline, not too bad. The maps are beautiful. I think the thing with Secrets of the Obscure is that they designed the maps very well. In fact, I actually like the first map the most because it's a callback to a lot of parts of Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 maps. We have Drakner's Forge. We have a callback to even EOD, even though that just came out last year. A callback to Path of Fire. Corteria, of course, like the area of where the Wizard's Tower was. Ratanovus. So I think the first map was actually done very well. Second map is not too bad. It's just not for me. I don't know. I didn't like the second map as much. I think the first map is much more nicely done. Second map looks like it was definitely catered for the meta, and that's it. Which is not bad, but I don't know. It was just not for me. I will say, speaking on the maps, I am underwhelmed with the metas. The metas are very easy. I just didn't enjoy the metas. I don't know. Like I felt like the first map's meta was fine. You know, you attack, you know, this platform. Mabon's like kind of or the dwarf is kind of going through it with something, and then you're trying to save it on a platform. And it's just you jump on your sky scale, go kill ads on a platform, come back down, then hit something with a sky scale. Like it's almost like, yeah, the expansion was supposed to be catered for sky scales. It's a selling point of this expansion. They were trying to really sell you the sky scale for this expansion, which is good for marketing perspectives. They needed to do that. I just felt like the map metas were, yeah, not really much going on. They were so easy to kill. You can't really fail it. There's no challenge. I think the events in the maps themselves are fine. There's a lot of cool events in the map. But the meta itself in each map is boring. I felt like the second meta in the second map, Amnetus, was... Yeah, it wasn't... You just shoot fireballs on tentacles and just kill ads and platforms. A, B, and C. It's... Yeah, the second map was even more underwhelming. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to excuse the meta for the first map. The second map is legitimately... Yeah, it's not that good. I will say the metas were very underwhelming. I hope the third map is different, because we haven't seen what the third map is. And of course, we are going to get maybe an update to these maps in the next release 2 months from now, about 3 months from now. But right now, as a release, I felt they should have went a bit more on the metas, right? Like this is the first impression of the expansion. I think they should have gone above and beyond for the first metas. And it's fine if they do it later, but this is the release. This is the first impression. I think they should have done it here and not later. It's just very underwhelming. The metas are not that good. The bosses look cool, but there's just nothing to it but visuals. And even like right now, I was literally farming T3 or T2 rifts in the map, and the meta was going on, and another group of players still managed to kill the meta, while the majority of the players on the map weren't even doing it. They were like farming rifts somewhere else. So it's almost unfailable. The meta is like almost unfailable, which is fine as well, but it can be a little bit of a challenge, right? Like the metas need to be a bit more challenges. So yeah, I was really disappointed with the metas. The maps were very well designed, but the metas were just did not live up to the standard. And I know they tried to do this whole thing where they want the sky scale to really be a feature of the expansion, but when you could just literally jump on the meta and just fireball the tentacles, fireball the face of the big giant monster at the end of the meta, and that's all you have to do is press 1. That's gonna get boring really quickly. Yeah, I think that I hope to see like what they can come up with in the next update that comes out in a few months. But I just didn't feel the same. Going based on that, yeah, with the rifts, actually, I'm gonna talk about the rifts first. The rifts honestly also are a bit disappointing. I like that I do like that you come together as a group to complete the rifts. However, they don't feel like you need to be there. The way I envisioned rifts, and I think a lot of players envisioned rifts, was going to be, it's a huge like thing that you have to come together in the map and you have to kill it, right? Not that you have to go find it and something like that. Like, it's gonna be something that almost of a world boss, something in between a world boss and like a bit above of an event, where players really have to go there to kill it, otherwise something happens in the map or something, right? I felt like that was what the rift was intended to be. However, the way it is right now, you don't actually have to engage with it. Like, people could be doing rift hunting and on the other side of the map doesn't even know what's going on, won't even know that it's even happening. So I do feel like the rifts could have been a bit more challenging. Even the T3 rifts aren't that hard themselves. I think if you have like 3 players, 4 players, I don't know, depending on like who's doing them, it might be a bit of a challenge. But the moment there's a group of people, it's, yeah, easily killable. They are good for XP. I will say they're very good for XP. You get a lot of spirit shards, something that is very hard to get in the game. Spirit shards usually don't come by that fast. I do think right now, with the way rifts are, if you're doing them with a group of friends, you know, just, hey, chatting on Discord, having fun, cracking jokes, whatever, it probably makes it much more fun. I envision that that's how, you know, rifts would be more engaging, is people just come on Discord, you talk, you have fun, and you're just rifting, right? You're just rifting away, and you're on Discord chatting about whatever it is you're chatting, and that kind of just kills your time for you. You get your essences of your essences, and then you're good to go, right? And that's it. That's all it is to it. I think that would basically more or less like get most of people's time, and I think that's probably how most people are doing them. I can find it very boring for someone who will not find it with a group. Like, they'll just be joining a squad, but they might at some point just check out or something. I do think like having a Discord or being in a guild or something like that probably makes rifting much easier, much more bearable, I would say. But yeah, I definitely expected them to be a bit more of a map catastrophe, right? You actually have to go kill them, otherwise, I don't know, the map explodes or something happens to the map. Right now, it isn't as engaging as I thought it would be, right? A lot of players could just leave or something. So maybe they intended them to be this way. Maybe this is the way they thought it was the best way, but I do think they should have at least been a bit more than that. The challenge is not there. I don't mind that they're very grindy to do, because you have 3 months to get them, the essences and everything you need for the legendary open world armors. I don't mind that it's even gonna take you that long to get what you need from them. So things like that are fine. Yeah, and yeah, that's the thing. There are people who are soloing the rifts as well, which is also I don't know if Arenanet wanted people. I mean, they did say it does scale, right? So if you're with a group of people, it will scale. If you're alone, you can probably kill it on your own. I think I did hear them say that the tier 3 rift though is meant to be done as a group. So the fact that people can just solo the tier 3 rift, it kind of goes against that. But yeah, I do hope that they manage to get a bit more interactability with them. Right now, they're just not that fun to play, right? You just kill it. It's just killing ads, and that's it. You dodge maybe a few things here and there. I do like that there are some things you have to do. You kind of have to dodge. You kind of have to do things. You can't just really stand there. But if you're in with a group with boons, you're probably not gonna struggle. If you're in a subgroup with like 8 to 10 players, all with like proper boons and rolls, rifts become super easy to do. And yeah, that doesn't even have to be someone who organizes on a Discord. It could just be a group on LFG and things like that. It is good for money. I think it's okay for money. It's good for spirit shards, definitely. The rewards could be a bit better, but I think the speed here is what's going to determine your gold per hour. So I think that's it for me for rifts. The Wizard's Vault. I actually think this is probably, if not the feature of the expansion, right? And I think when it first came out, people envisioned like a different thing of how the Wizard's Vault was going to be. And then when they released it, it had a bit of messes, right? We only had 4 daily options to do for PvE, PvP, or World versus World, which definitely was less variety compared to the old daily login system. I think the daily login system, the benefit was you had 10 things to do to get your daily rewards, whereas this one you only have the 4 to do. And they have, to be fair, Arenanet has already updated them to get more. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 5 now. I do think they could have done 10. I do think 10 would be better. The benefit is that you can choose what you want: PvE, PvP, or World vs. World, or a combination of all of them if you want. I do think they could add even more to the weekly. And honestly, they have added to the special. There was only like 3 to the special before. They've added more to it. So I think that's very good as well. I like that they've done that. They've actually managed to even put more for people to do. The Wizard's Vault in itself, I've reviewed this in another video as well. So if you want to check that out, there is a video of the Wizard's Vault review. I do think that it opens up a lot for newer players, especially like things like getting your Ascended armor. This is like the second best thing you can get in the game. And the stats of the Ascended is pretty much the same thing as the stats of Legendary, which is the best armor you can get in the game. They share the same stats. However, Legendary armor is more convenient because they get stored in what is called a Legendary Armory, meaning you can access that from any character, versus the Ascended armor can, you'll have to like take it from a character and give it to another character on your account. So there's a bit more accessibility with legendaries. However, Ascended is the second best. In fact, it is honestly even more than enough to get by content. I think for a new player, like, this makes it easier for them to get stuff like this. There are some good stuff, like, for example, being able to get gold immediately through the Wizard's Vault, mystic coins, being able to get crafting bags and things like that. So there's a lot of pretty good benefits that they can get from this. Even the mastery here as well. And the biggest one, honestly, the starter kit, which is, it gives you like a legendary option to choose from, and you get like a boost of T6 materials, and you also get a precursor to go with on your legendary. So this is probably the big money maker here. So if you want to get started on your legendary journey, it's super easy to get into it. So I think the vault, if not, is probably the best feature of this expansion. Honestly, it is the best feature. And also you can earn rewards for like skins and stuff in the game. So not just like golden materials and things that help you with your game experience, but also skins and things like that. So it's very much a free battle pass in this game. And even if you miss out on the cycle of current materials or current skins, they will be placed in a legendary legacy rewards vault, which means they'll be accessed even later, even after they disappear from the front page here. They'll go over here at a slightly higher astral acclaim cost, the currency that you need to buy all of these items and everything else here. So I think that the Wizard's Vault, I've spoken enough on this, and you can go find a few videos that speak in great detail. I have had a very negative opinion on it at the start of the release. However, I've come to terms with the fact that it's actually beneficial for a lot of players who struggle with getting gold in the game. It's actually a very good system. I had a very negative opinion that it's not really that good for money making. However, I have been a little bit out of touch recently with what is good and what is bad in terms of money making. In the sense that, for me, a lot of things I find are bad only because I know the better ways. But if I just look at it from an objective point of view as a new player a player who isn't into money making or doesn't know how to get money in the game or often struggles with playing different game modes that will get them a lot of resources, this is actually a very good system. You just play the game, earn the vault, and spend it on items, especially like for example, the bag of gold. As you can see, I have it sold out. So this is like a discounted. Like you can buy 1 gold for 6 astral acclaim, and you can buy that, I believe, what was it, 90 times or 60 times. It's actually very good. It's very good. And same with the mystic coins. You can buy these at a certain amount, and you need mystic coins to also make your legendary weapons or roll them for clovers. Or you could sell them on the trading post for like a gold and some change, like a gold 5 silver, gold 10 silver after tax. The mystic clover, I guess, is also a good boost as well. They're not bad. The amount of astral acclaim that you can get on a daily and weekly basis should be easy enough. I think even if you don't play the game too much, in what is, I think, a 3-month cycle for each system or each season of the Wizard's Vault, you can get almost about 14,000 astral acclaim. That's assuming you get everything, right? You know, you don't miss a day, you don't skip a beat, you do everything. Even if you get 5,000 or 6,000 astral acclaim in 3 months, it's not bad. You'll have enough to buy out all the important stuff, and especially this, right? And maybe a few skins here and there. So I don't expect every player is going to get 14,000 astral acclaim currencies and buy everything. I think most players will probably get 5,000 or 6,000, and then some players might get up to like the upper 10,000, right? So it's not that bad. It's actually a pretty good system. I actually enjoyed. I think the vault has actually changed my mind in a lot of ways recently. So yeah, I will say, yeah, the green circles and eye mechanic in open world is a bit interesting, because with the green circles, for those who don't know, the green circles usually in raids and strikes requires players to come together, whoever has the green circle under them, so that you can eat damage together. In the open world, it's like supposed to be doing the opposite though. You're supposed to run away from the player with the green. That's kind of confusing in the open world. I'm not even actually sure if that's what it is in the open world, but I do like and I appreciate, just to go back on the open world, that they are incorporating a few more things that you need to watch out for. It's not really DPS and that's it. You kind of have to dodge a little bit every now and then. Again, the tier 3 vaults and the tier 2 and tier 1, the tier 3, tier 2, tier 3, tier 1 rifts are quite easy. However, they have managed to incorporate a little bit of like dodging here and there. Yeah. But I already said my opinion on the rifts. You know, I find that they could be a bit more challenging. But yeah, the vault, honestly, go watch a few videos that I have on them. I did a spreadsheet here, courtesy of Aura for providing us that spreadsheet. I did a tier list review, which kind of is a bit of a meme, but I also did a proper review on it. I think pretty good. Analysis, verdict, it's a very good thing. Now, to move on from the Wizard's Vault, I'd like to go to the Weapon Master training, because this is almost similar to the Vault in the sense that this is a feature of the expansion. So the feature of the expansion, Secrets of the Obscure really does feel like it's feature heavy. We're getting like a lot of systems changes, right? Wizard's Vault changes, Weapon Master training changes, relics. It feels like a systems overhaul expansion. And I imagine they won't do this for every expansion. The next one maybe will be more content heavy. I do like the Weapon Master training. They kind of opened the door on endless possibilities of classes and specs being able to use any weapon regardless of the spec that they're doing. The specialization did lock classes into certain specs, can only use certain weapons, and the fact that the door is open now allows for endless possibilities. And I actually prefer this than getting another set of specializations, because I think Arenanet was feeling pressure that every expansion should have an elite, should have new elite specializations or specializations added to the class. And I think that kind of set the pressure. And to be honest, the game is at the point where I feel like we don't need more specializations. We have a core class and 3 specializations to that core class. I think we're more than enough. Maybe in the future they can come back and maybe make a 4th, but I feel like we're done. We have, each class has as many roles as they can play. there's plenty to balance from. So I think the Weapon Master training kind of removed that pressure on them. And honestly, I prefer it. I don't want to see a specialization every expansion. There's too much to balance. There's too much to keep up with. At that point, it's going to become way too many things to look into. And it's already got into a complicated scenario for a lot of players. I think the Weapon Master training kind of lifted that burden and also introduced a whole new playstyle with new weapons and stuff that specs couldn't use otherwise. So I do appreciate that. Going on relics as the other sort of, you know, system overhaul. I'm not so sure with the relics, to be honest. I don't know if they needed to do something like that, where they kind of just completely removed legendary runes and sigils out of the picture. They haven't yet, but they will in the future. I'm not sure, honestly, what to say about relics. It's I don't know if it was necessary. Right now we have what, 52 relics? Only 5 or 6 actually have any use, and the rest kind of feel redundant. You know, and I would like to see where Arenanet could have explored way more scenario positions with relics, where this relic is really good for this scenario in a raid, and this, it feels like only 5 or 6 actually became relevant. You know, I'd love to see something with, you know, a relic that is catered to a scenario, so that you could use this to buff up, I don't know, your bleeding, or this will buff up, like, you know, like a very specific Condi relic for a Condi fight, or one for a power fight, or one that can provide a boon output that requires a fight that, you know, something a little bit more. But I think this is also maybe more, I'd like, I don't want to say this, but I feel like the game just isn't, relics are just not meant, and game mode specific relics, scenario specific relics just won't make sense in Guild Wars 2, because there's no content where you will struggle to the point where you need a specific scenario. Everything is killable in this game, so I think relics just doesn't make any sense for Guild Wars 2. I don't know if I'm wrong in saying that, but I just don't find that, like, I don't find that there's anything that's gonna require relic specific scenarios. Everything is killable. So yeah, I just don't find it, I don't find that there's anywhere for relics in this game. I just don't understand the decision with it. So, and yeah, I feel like, yeah, they are a QOL, but very few of them are actually very good. The rest of them are actually trash. So I don't know, it's just, I don't know. Relics is the one thing that I just don't really find fits in the scenario of the game. And it's not in the sense that it doesn't work. It's just that Guild Wars 2 hasn't been built for something like this. It just doesn't feel like the game requires them, you know? Yeah, so I would like to see an improvement. How would they improve that? I don't know, right? It's gonna be difficult, because most of the stuff in the game is doable with a lot of the current stuff. Like, you don't even need them before. So how would you introduce relics to help with a system? It's the game is winnable in every sense. So yeah, to go back on all of this, to go back on more or less systems, I do appreciate that they kind of changed a bit of the systems of the game. I think relics isn't something I personally see that could have, you know, there is some interesting applications they could do with that. I do appreciate the Wizard's Vault, the Weapon Master training. I just hope they don't keep doing system overhaul for the sake of system overhaul and binding that as a feature, right? Like, next expansion next year, which they already confirmed is in development, I would not like to see them just do a change for the sake of a change, right? Like let's revamp the way metas are done all of a sudden, right? Metas, open world, Guild Wars 2 shines in open world, right? So I don't think just changing something for the sake of change is necessary. If it needs change, why not, right? Like, the LFG needs change, right? The LFG definitely needs a long overhaul. The guild system, the guild halls, they could probably use a fresh update. Yeah, definitely, certainly, like, it feels like guilds aren't being engaged with enough, right? That's the complaint. Guild halls, guild decorations, guild missions. I think stuff like that would be interesting to see an overhaul for, because that just, it adds like a huge breath of fresh air, a huge set of things to do that wasn't there before. So I'd like to see something that requires change. LFG does, guilds do, GVGs, who knows if we could have a system like that. Things like the alliances, which I don't even want to get into that, but yeah, things that require a change. And I think maybe we'll get more content specific in the next expansion. Probably next expansion we do get a bit more content specific. This one was definitely like their first run of the new system, right? It's the first model that they're releasing, right? The first expansion under the new model. They get an expansion, release it in quarterly updates. You have the initial release, then Q2, Q3, Q4 is the wrap up. And then right around the corner, Q1 of the next expansion comes out. So yeah, I do think they could improve more on that. So we'll see how that goes. Open world legendary armor. I actually like the fact that it is pretty much quite a grind. I actually appreciate that. I actually asked for this. So I can't say that like, oh, it's too grindy. I actually asked. I said I want the open world legendary armor to be a huge grind because everything else feels easy to get in the game. So yeah, I think open world legendary armor, good. And also that they're not releasing it until a bit later. And speaking of releasing things a bit later, I do find it did kind of suck the air out of the room that not everything was available at the start of the expansion. I do think there's people who maybe felt a little bit like, ah, wait, really? I have to wait 3 months for this? I do think it kind of does suck the air a bit when you have things that you're not getting right now, right? You have to wait a little bit. You have to build towards it. I found that the content so far was okay. I don't find that it was bad. I think for what they've released as a first release, for the most part, it's good. Like I'll give it a 6 or 7. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I'd say it's a 7 out of 10. And I do think there's still quite a lot more. So like this video right now, there'll have to be a part 2, 3, and 4. So that realistically, we have 3 more reviews to give away for this expansion. But the initial release, I think, did accomplish what it was supposed to accomplish, right? And the fact that we know what the release of the future roadmaps will be. So we got a bit of the story at this release. We got the 2 maps, 3 maps if you count the Wizard's Tower right now, which is sort of an outpost more or less. We've had 2 metas. To me, underwhelming. I didn't like them. I didn't enjoy them. I think they should have went big on the metas. I think they should have just hit hard, right? They should have like just thrown everything at us with the first metas. I think it was wrong to go with something very soft and very bite-sized content for the meta. I think that was a mistake. Weapon Master Training, I love it. The Wizard's Vault, beautiful. Strikes, Fractals. The strikes, also underwhelming. I feel like the strikes weren't good. The strikes, the first one was a DPS golem. You just stand around and kill Dagda or whatever, defeat Dagda. I did not like the strikes. They were very easy to do and like killable within the first try. Like we did not even have to do anything. We literally just killed them in the first try. It wasn't that hard. It really wasn't. It was killable within the first try with a pug group. Same with Ceres. I think the CM, because we haven't gotten the challenge mode for those strikes, I do find the CM for Ceres will be way more difficult, which I'm looking forward to. It's probably going to be a very good strike. I don't think the CM for Dagda will be that particularly interesting, honestly. I don't think it will be. But I'd hope to see. I'd like to see what the Ceres CM will be. Fractal. We're not getting the Fractal until the next update, I believe. So we're getting the Fractal next update, and then we get the CM for the Fractal in the 3rd update. So we haven't seen what the Fractal will look like. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully it goes well. But yeah, I found the strikes weren't fun. The strikes had just some basic mechanics, but the Ceres one was probably the one that will... I think that one will be the one that is going to be exciting to look at, how the CM works out well. But they definitely weren't easy. They definitely weren't like, difficult strikes. And I found that like, I wish they did kind of elevate them to the level of EOD. I found that the EOD strikes, normal mode EOD strikes were much more engaging and a bit of a challenge compared to these 2 strikes we got here. It's just, yeah, I felt like they could have done more. However, I will say that they're very beautifully done in terms of story mode. I do like the story of how they morphed that into the strikes. I find the story really carried a lot of this initial release. Relics, open world legendary armor. Again, as I mentioned, we'll see. Open world legendary armor. I like that there's quite a bit of a challenge to get it. Relics, I feel like they still have quite a lot of work to do with the relics. So the release of the future roadmaps. We got the initial story, the maps, the metas, weapon master training, wizard's vault, 2 strike modes, relics, and the open world legendary armor. We're still not getting that yet. Open world legendary armor will come later. In the future, in Q2, we're supposed to get, I believe, the CMs and the fractal. And then I think a third map. Q3, I believe, might be actually the third map. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe Q3 is the third map. And then Q4 should wrap up everything. So we definitely will be getting more story in each of the quarterly releases. So the next update should come around. So we released the expansion in August. So I think we should be getting something in November or January, probably. Right? Then we'll get something 3 months later. And then it should wrap up, I believe. I think what they're going to try to do is wrap it up so we get the Q2 release of the expansion in November. So then we have December, January, February would be the third basically iteration of the expansion. And then March, April, May. And then May is where we get the fourth and final update of Secrets of the Obscure. So it wraps up in May. That means you have June, July, August. That means 3 months after May, expansion... the next expansion releases again, which is in August. So that would mean every year on the anniversary of Guild Wars 2 would be getting an expansion. So yeah, I think it's fine. They've scaled it up. I think for 20 hours, I think, of content. I like the story. I can't complain. I think the story was very well done. Character development was there. The lore was definitely like explored, and there's more hints to come. If I add everything, I would say, yeah, like I think I got my money's worth. I can't complain, to be honest, about the expansion. I do find that there were, yeah, some things underwhelming, but I found that the expansion, honestly, I got my money out of it. I don't find that there's anything wrong with the expansion. And honestly, again, this is really the conclusion, as I said at the start. Secrets of the Obscure did exactly what Arenanet has done. They've targeted a certain player base, and that player base happens to be the majority of the game. The ones who actually put money into the accounts of Guild Wars 2, of Arenanet. It's not a game for competitive players. It's never going to be a game for competitive players. I've been seeing a lot of streamers actually talk about this now. Sneb, Teepaw, Emmy, they all been talking about it. It's look, this is Guild Wars 2. This is pretty much the game, right? Like, it's never going to be something competitive into raiding. Instance content is never going to be the same thing that you'll get out of it compared to other, difficult and challenging instance content in other MMOs. It's just not it. This game is not that. It is targeting the player base that will continue to put money into the game. And that is fine. I think this expansion did exactly what it was. If you want something competitive, this isn't the game for you, right? I think the strikes, we're never going to get something similar to HTCM. Who knows? They could prove us wrong. Maybe Harvest Temple CM is something that they are looking at. Yeah, that's maybe a difficulty they'll get. However, I don't think they're going to try and make it the thing that they want to do, right? If we get one, we're lucky. If we don't, it's whatever. Open world, again, we've seen something like Dragon's End from End of Dragons be very competitive in terms of like how much you need to actually put subgroups and things to kill an open world event. And there were people trying to get like the best time for that. Unfortunately, community was never ready for it then. And I think this is just because, honestly, this is a culture that's been cultivated in the game. Right? When you've been accustomed to just killing everything without difficulty, the moment you introduce difficulty, it is a culture shock. I think a lot of people forget to add that culture shock is a thing. When you are playing a game that has accustomed you for a certain, culture and thing that you've cultivated throughout the years, yeah, it's a shock when you go a whole 180. It's not surprising that the community would react the way it is. It's just the way it is, right? If you don't drop these hints early on, it's very difficult when you finally do drop them, but you've never, ever even given a way to do it, right? So I think, especially in open world, right? I think nobody expected an open world for something that difficult to happen. So I do hope the open world metas can be as difficult as Dragon's End before nerf, or if not, at least as it is right now. It's not too bad. I do hope that they can be of sort like that. I do hope that is at least we get something like that, similar to that. What I'd like to see for the expansions, I don't know. We haven't gotten to the other expansions. But again, I think this was a very systems heavy expansion. They're fixing a lot of things. The Wizard's Vault is the new daily system of how to earn money in the game, how to earn prizes in the game. I think they're improving it and they'll continue to improve it. Strikes, Fractals, it's not great, but it's okay. I think for what they're looking for, 2 strikes and expansion, CMs included, and a fractal with CM, it's fine. 3 maps is okay. I think the consistency here is the key thing. And yeah, I think I'm getting my money's worth from this expansion. 7 out of 10. I found that it was very enjoyable. I can't complain. And this is just the first. This is the first expansion release, right? This is not even the full expansion, so we can't really fully judge it until we get to the next one, which is in November, I guess, or January when we get the next update. So overall, yeah, I think it delivered as an expansion. It's not for a competitive player. I think they've made that clear that this is the segment they're moving towards. They've targeted new players. They're targeting the casual player base. Skyscale was a big marketing feature for this expansion. They certainly learned from their mistake of giving away something like that for free. Bear in mind, we got this for free in Living World Season 4. A Skyscale mount, a mount like that is so powerful. We got it for free. I actually am happy that they decided to bundle this as something of a feature in this expansion to sell it. I think Arenanet definitely will build momentum. Having this expansion has become a yearly thing. And I prefer it that way, right? I think Arenet's always been at a very bad start-stop momentum push. And that's honestly, that's what has destroyed their momentum a lot and their build-up of trying to build anything out of it. So I think the yearly expansions will solve that. There's something to look forward to every 3 months. With that being said, I think for a casual player, this becomes their game. For a player who's looking for a bit of a challenge, I find that this will be the game that you play on the side. I don't know. It feels like if you are looking for a bit of a challenge, you're not playing Guild Wars 2 for that. You're playing Guild Wars 2 for fun, to kind of change your time, change your, catch your breath with some friends, have fun a little bit. You can step in and out of the game. You can always catch up to content. And you know what? That's fine. It's not too bad. I think for a player who is looking for something else, this becomes their second game. It might not be their primary game anymore. I think something like for most players who do play Guild Wars 2, that has been the big thing about it, right? Is a lot of players don't have the time to play. And Guild Wars 2 has respected your time. And I will give that for Guild Wars 2. I'll give that for this expansion. And I think even anything coming forward from Arenanet, they respect your time. And I think that is something that's very important. They acknowledge that, hey, you have a limited certain hours to play, and we can deliver that certain amount of game time for you at your leisure, right? I can log out 6 months, come back, and I can catch up very easily. I don't have to play 50 hours to catch up to the other player base. There isn't this like, oh, I have to play, otherwise I'm falling behind. Arenanet respects people's time, and I think I can give that to them with this. So yeah, verdict, the conclusion, I think the expansion delivered. It's exactly done what it sought out to do. I give it a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. So far, so good. I can't wait to see what comes out next. And yeah, in terms of an economy standpoint, it's actually solved a lot of the economy problems. Everything has gone up in price, skyrocketed in price. I like it. All right, give me all the money. All right, yeah, there's a little bit of an economy meme for you, but you know what? That's it. That's my very good expansion. I liked it. Let me know what you know in the comments. What you think about the expansion? Do you enjoy it so far? What have you liked about it? What do you dislike about it? What are the things that you agree with me about it? What do you don't agree with me? What do you disagree about the expansion that I've said? So, hey, if you'd like to know any of that or put any of that information, put in the comment section below. Let's engage in some discussion. Thank you guys for joining in. I'm Gildamem, and hey, I'll see you on the next one. Take care, YouTube.